Hello everyone, Kurt from Chicago Skycam. Tonight we're going to talk about bringing your drones to Mexico. There's a lot of confusion out there if you're researching whether a U.S. citizen can bring a drone to Mexico. I have done it 3 times, and we're also going to talk about just traveling with your drones in general. I've brought them to Europe, to Iceland, to Puerto Rico, Mexico 3 times, all over the United States. I want to share some of my experiences with you. All right, let's talk about traveling with your drone. This bag's from Amazon. It was only like 80 bucks. It has a bunch of different compartments that you can configure however you want. I can get my Mavic 3 Pro in here, all its batteries, my Sony a7 IV, a lens in here, the controller, and my MacBook M2 in here. No problem. And this also fits under the seat on an airplane. So when you're traveling with your drone, you want to check with the airline that you're on, but most airlines want you to bring your batteries in your bag. They're very concerned about lithium batteries, and they should be separated, and they sell these pouches that you can put the batteries on so none of the contacts cause any issues. I put them in Ziploc bags. Actually, no one's ever gone onto my carry-on when I've had a drone in there in like the 8 times that I've traveled with it. I've never had an issue. So get a bag like this. The other thing too is this, for a lot of us, this is really expensive. I don't want to check this. I want to keep this with me at all times just to make sure. Keep your expensive stuff with you. I would also recommend, and it's somewhere in here, put an AirTag or something like that. If you're carrying like 10 to 15K in camera gear, put an AirTag in there. It may not help you get it back if it gets stolen, but it's something. Put your drone batteries in here. Stuff like your tripod and chargers and things like that, I put in my check bag. I only put the drone, what's required. I wouldn't even put the batteries in here, honestly, if the airline didn't require it. But I put the drone, my MacBook, the controller, things that are fairly expensive to you, and of course my camera. These are kind of nice. If you're traveling in a foreign country, you don't know where you're going to be. You're flying. You don't know what the terrain's going to be like. It's kind of nice to have these. I don't bring them. I prefer to hand launch. I would definitely encourage you to learn how to hand launch and hand catch your drone. It's going to make it so much easier for you. But basically, you're making your hand the platform for the drone. You're holding it still, and you're going to take off. In the other hand, you're going to launch your drone. And then when it's returning, you're going to put your hand out. You're not going to move it. You're going to create that platform for your drone. And then you're going to descend. It's going to pause for a second. It's going to sense your hand. It's going to be like, oh, it's a little bit higher than when I took off. And you're just going to hold it there, and then you're going to force it down into your hand. Do not reach out and try to grab it. It's going to land in there, and then you can grab it as it's turning off. It's really simple. It makes it a lot easier when you're traveling. So if you've gone on Google to research whether you can bring a drone to Mexico, the first site that's come up is UAV Coach. And the first line right here says, you cannot use a drone in Mexico if you are not a citizen. The next line says all drones weighing over 250 grams must be registered. Well, Mini 3 Pro. Bring the Mini 3 Pro with the correct battery, the 249 gram battery, and you should be good to go, right? Although I've seen other drone pilots, and I've read it, where they've actually brought their Mavic 3 Pro to Mexico, but they were taxed. They wanted, like 10% of the value. And in this one article I was reading, the security in Mexico is actually looking up the value of the drone on Amazon, which I find hilarious. My 3 trips to Mexico, it's been 3 times. So the only time that you're really going to have an issue, because you land in Mexico, you go through customs, and then you could be pulled aside for a secondary screening, and that's basically they're going to take your bag and put it through the x-ray machine. First time I had a Mavic 2, I had no idea about the rules and regs, and they didn't say anything. I was kind of nervous. The second time and third time, because I've read this, I brought the Mini 3 Pro, and I did not get pulled for a secondary screening. I did not have any issues. The next thing I would say is once you get into Mexico with your drone, be careful. Follow the rules that you would follow in the US. Don't fly over large groups of people. Don't bother anybody. There was, I spent a full day there looking around and deciding like where's a good spot to launch from, probably what do I want to photograph or take a video of. Generally, the safest area is going to be over the water. Where you're not gonna really bother anybody, but you need to launch the drone from somewhere. And I typically don't like doing that when there's a lot of people around. Number one, they can get annoyed by it. Number two, and this happened when I was in Mexico. They'll stop and start asking me, "What kind of drone is that?" And I was going to bring mine, and I've lost it. Like they want to have an entire conversation with you while you're up there trying to fly your drone. And this typically happens all the time. So I like to be a little incognito, just not to disturb anybody. When we were sitting by the pool the second day, somebody was flying, it was either an FPV or a Avanto. It had propeller guards on it, and they were buzzing our pool repeatedly, probably about 20 feet in the air, and the thing was loud because it was cooking. It had to be going like top speed. It's things like that that really frustrate me when people do things like that because they give the rest of us a bad name. You got this guy that's doing something I would assume is illegal in Mexico. It's definitely illegal here. And, maybe the next day I'm trying to launch my drone from the beach to get some nice photos and people are, we're annoyed with this guy and now they're going to come after me. It's things like that that can be really frustrating. So follow the rules. Pay attention to what's going on out there. I checked out where the nearest airport was and what the approach patterns were. Your apps are not going to work there. I want to say before you fly, I know it's not functioning anymore. There's 4 new apps out there. They're not going to work necessarily outside of the country. Also in Mexico, there's a lot of like Mayan ruins and things like that people really want to go see. A lot of these areas are restricted. So make sure you don't take your drone there and try to fly it because these are restricted areas. I pretty much just stayed over the water. I like to be safe. I always use line of sight. I always want to know where my drone is. And I would pretty much just try to get it over the water and get some nice shots of the beach going up and down and maybe back towards the city. But really pay attention to your surroundings. You do not want to end up in jail. In the thumbnail there, I've got a guy in fatigues with a, I'd say automatic rifle. That is the Mexican National Guard. And that is not a joke. That's what they look like. Like there was an accident on our way to Tulum. That's what they're 3 guys get out with, machine guns. That's what they look at. Now you don't really want to deal with these guys because you're flying a drone and you're not a citizen there. So I think the rule of thumb is they're probably going to let you into Mexico with a drone. They may tax you, as we've seen in some examples. They may not say anything, but you're probably going to be fine as long as you're not doing anything that causes damage or wreaking havoc on people or just causing a nuisance. Do not cause a nuisance when you're there. Get your footage and get out. The other thing I want to say, and this is a good pointer. Where's it at? The other thing I want to say is memory cards. Bring extra memory cards. Like you could definitely have a situation where if you've only brought a couple memory cards, and the Mavic 3 Pro, the Mavic 3 Pro is great because it's got its own internal HD. But as far as other drones where you need memory cards, make sure you have extras. I actually took one of these mini SDs out of my drone and accidentally put it into my GoPro, and I didn't realize that, and I tried to shoot with it. It corrupted the entire card. So make sure you're not switching things like that. Make sure you have extras so you don't ruin. You don't want to bring all this stuff on a trip with you and one of your memory cards gets corrupted and then you're looking around a foreign country for where you can buy memory cards. I can tell you that's really difficult in Mexico. If you want a Pharmacia, there's one about every 4 stores, but if you want to buy memory cards, you're not going to find one. All right, everyone, I hope this has been helpful. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, or follow. Catch you on the other end. Thank you.